Hello world, hello world, hello world. This is a documentation, not look at how I look at how I immediately can't speak. Mind you, I'll actually use speak a very should do it. This would also try my topic again. Oke, jadi hari ini hari ke-9 dan aku bakal mulai olahraga sekarang jam setengah 8 karena baru pulang jam berapa ya tadi ya, setengah 6, terus makan dan beres-beres, akhirnya baru sempat olahraga jam setengah 8. Anyway, ini gua nggak jadwal, kenapa? Karena gua belum tahu atau aku belum tahu kapan sebenarnya aku bisa pulang setiap harinya kalau misalkan ada kerjaan di luar. Nah ternyata setengah 8 baru bisa mulai, jadi mungkin gue bakal jadwalnya tiap hari setengah 8 atau mungkin bingung juga sih, tapi udah setengah 8 kita set buat olahraga. Gak konsisten juga guys ya. Oke, jadi kayak kalau ada kerjaan kemungkinan besar aku nggak bakal bikin jadwal buat kapan olahraga. Aku kayak go with the flow aja pokoknya kalau bisa dan kalau udah pulang. Tapi kalau nggak ada kerjaan dan gue bisa pasti olahraga jam berapa, nanti gue bakal posting dan bikin jadwal buat olahraga bareng. Mantap. Anyway, sekarang udah mulai. Tadi aku mikir sudah berhasil. Kita mikir ya. Oke, gue live aja. Dan udah live. Next, ambil kaos kaki aja. Yuk. Less people are coming in. I don't know. Maybe they are bored. Maybe. Yuk, udah dapet kaos kaki, sekarang kita pakai. Masih ragu-ragu. Kembali ya. Nah, masih ragu-ragu kembali. Gak usah di lucu-lucuin kalau emang gak niat buat lucu-lucuin. Pede aja bos. Really you actually think so? Yeah, not really. Sure.
Bangga kan ya anakmu tuh.
Kenapa sih?
Aku bilang gede laptopku tuh aku bawain kan aku lupa ternyata ada semua gede. Ya udah tasku bawa karena aku ditanggung. Nggak salah.
Kalau hai, ini baru mau olahraga sembari latihan artikulasi. Tadi Tristan maksudnya apa? Kalau tur 3 panggilannya siap. kurang paham, bisa diperjelas? Oke, aku tunggu ya. Sembari ku setting seperti biasa kecepatan 2, incline-nya maksimal. Tapi balik dari kesalahan kemarin, kita bakal mulainya di incline 3 km per jam. Kalau tour 3 itu apa? Tour 3. Tour 3 itu siapa? Tour 3. Wah, nggak nyambung ya. Apa tour 3? Oh. Iya, tahu. Tahu. Kok Vincent kenapa? Oh, aku teh udah nggak di ini lagi, udah nggak di A+ lagi. Paling itu kan kok Arthur yang biasa jadi guru Inggris, dia kan bisa Inggris. Tapi nggak tahu lagi sih siapa lagi yang ngajar Inggris di A+. Soalnya udah nggak kesana lagi aku, karena urusan pribadi. Kuatur dulu supaya detak jantungnya pas. Malah turun lagi loh. Gila. Udah kebakar banget paha gua. Udah di aerobik ya, di 2,3 incline 15 itu kayak aerobik naik turun. Oke, yuk mulai. Many narcissists are drawn to pursuit high-profile jobs where they can use their talents well, and the potential laurels are great. Despite any risk, like Andre, they make their best effort when a grand payoff beckons. In the business world, such narcissists can end up as larger than life leaders. Michael Macoby, a psychoanalyst who has studied and treated narcissistic leaders, observes that the tide has become ini udah kemarin. Potong bebek. Next volume mana ya? In the years since that movie was made, we have seen a series of actual meltdowns, like those the scene implicitly warns against, not of nuclear reactors, but Chernobyls of entire corporations. We need the outright lies and elaborate fiscal cover-ups. Those companies arguably shared a single root affliction: collective narcissism. Narcissistic organizations implicitly encourage such duplicity, even while ostensibly asking for candor and hard data. Shared illusions flourish in direct proportion to the suppression of truth. Halo, siapakah ini? Aku tidak ingat username-nya. When narcissism spreads within a company, then those who challenge the self-flattery, even with crucial information, threaten all those who count on the narcissistic high with a deflating feeling of failure or shame. In the psyche of the narcissistic, the knee-jerk response to such a threat is rage. In a narcissistic company, those who imperil the group's grandiosity are typically demoted, upbraided, or fired. The narcissistic organization becomes a moral universe of its own, a world where its goals, goodness, and means are not questioned but taken as holy writ. It is a world where doing whatever we need to get whatever we want seems perfectly fine. The ongoing self-celebration forks over how divorced from reality we have become. The rules don't apply to us, just to the others. The narcissist's motto, "Others exist to adore me." She had promised to read him an erotic passage from a novel, but now he was furious. At first, everything seemed fine. She began reading to him in a low, seductive tone from a titillating scene about two lovers. He could feel himself getting a bit aroused. But as the passage grew steamier, she grew nervous, alternately stuttering and hesitant, then plunging ahead in rapid chunks. She was clearly flustered. Finally, it was just more than she could handle. Pleading that the passage was just too pornographic after this point, she refused to read on. To make matters worse, she added that something about him made her too uncomfortable to continue. Worse still, she admitted she had gone ahead and read the whole passage for other guys. That scene was played out 120 times, each time with a different man, as part of an experiment at an unnamed university. The woman reading the steamy prose was an assistant in a study or what provokes some men, but not most others, to force sex on women. The scenario was set up deliberately to prompt men first to feel aroused, then to feel frustrated and put down. After the setup, each man had a chance for retribution. He was asked to rate the woman's performance, to set how much she should be paid or whether her pay should be withheld, and to decide if she should be asked back or fired. Most of the men forgave the woman, especially when they heard she needed the money to pay her tuition. But true to type, those with narcissistic tendencies were outraged by the slights and retaliated most. The narcissists, feeling they had been cheated of something to which they were entitled, were punitive on every count, and on a test of attitudes or sexual coercion. The more narcissistic the man, the more he approved of coercive tactics. Had this been a date where the couple made out and then the woman wanted to stop, the researchers concluded such men were most likely to force on her despite her protests. Even unhealthy narcissists can sometimes be charmers. Hai, selamat malam. Anda kembali. Sudah selesaikah kerjanya? Niku tadi baru pulang 5:30, terus makan, terus beres-beres, jadi baru sempat sekarang. Even unhealthy narcissists can sometimes be charmers. The very name comes from the Greek myth of Narcissus, who was so entranced by his own beauty that he fell in love with his own image, reflected in a lake. The nymph Echo also fell in love with him, but she ended up spurned and heartbroken, unable to compete with his self-adoration. As the myth suggests, many narcissists attract people because the self-confidence they exude can lend them a charismatic aura. Though they are quick to put others down, unhealthy narcissists view themselves in absolutely positive terms. They are understandably happiest in a marriage with someone who will be unfailingly fawning. The slogan of the narcissist might be, "Others exist to adore me." Among the dark triad, narcissists alone are blatant in their self-inflation and braggadocio, even with a necessary dose of self-deception. Their bias is famously self-serving. They take credit for successes, but never blame for failure. They feel entitled to glory, even lightly claiming credit for others' work, but they see nothing wrong in this, nor in anything else they might do. According to one standard test, a narcissist is someone who has a grandiose sense of self-importance, harbors obsessive fantasies of an unbounded glory, feels rage or intense shame when criticized, expects special favors, and lacks empathy. That deficiency in empathy means narcissist remains oblivious to the self-centered abrasiveness that others see in them so clearly. Although they can selectively turn on the charm, narcissists can just as readily be disagreeable, not in the least drawn to emotional intimacy. They are highly competitive, cynical and mistrustful of others, and readily exploit the people in their lives, glorifying themselves even at the expense of slighting someone close to them. Nonetheless, narcissists typically think of themselves as likable. Unrealistic self-inflation comes more readily in culture that encourage individualistic thriving rather than shared success. Collective cultures prevalent in East Asia and Northern Europe place a premium on harmonizing with a group and sharing both work and credit for success, while giving up expectation of being treated as special. But individualistic cultures like the United States and Australia tend to encourage striving for the glory of individual accomplishment and its rewards. Accordingly, American college students see themselves as better than 2/3 of their fellows in most endeavors, while Japanese students rate themselves exactly in the middle. The Machiavellian my ends justify the means. The manager of a large division at a European industrial giant had an oddly split reputation. The people working for him feared and loathed him, while his boss found him utterly charming. Highly polished socially, the manager made considerable efforts to impress not just his boss, but also clients outside the company. But once he was back in his own office suit, he became a pretty tyrant, shouting at people whose performance displeased him, while uttering not a word of praise for those who excelled. A consultant called in by the industrial company to evaluate its managers realized how demoralized the people in this autocrat division had become. After only a few interviews of his co-workers, she saw that he was clearly self-centered, caring only about himself rather than about the organization or even the people whose hard work made him seem so praiseworthy to his own boss. The consultant recommended that he be replaced, and the company CEO rather reluctantly asked him to leave. The manager made such a good first impression on his new boss. We instantly recognized this manipulative manager. We have seen him in countless movies, plays, and television dramas. Stereotypes of the chart. Unfeeling but smooth villain who ruthlessly exploits perfect popular culture. This type stands as a perennial staple of popular entertainment. He is as old as the demon Ravana in the ancient Indian epic, the Ramayana, as contemporary as the evil emperor in the Star Wars saga. In endless cinema incarnations, he appears as the mad scientist bent on world rule or the charming yet callous leader of a criminal gang. We instinctively loathe the type because of his unscrupulous cunning, his wife in the service of evil ends. He is the Machiavellian, the villain we love to hate. Hai, siapakah yang masuk lagi? Sebut namamu. Atau enggak, wave. Lambaikan tangan. When Niccolo Machiavelli wrote The Prince, the 16th century manual for seizing and holding political power through cunning manipulation, he took for granted that the aspiring ruler had only his own interests at heart, caring not at all about the people he ruled, nor those he crushed to gain power. For the Machiavellian, the ends justify the means, no matter what human pain he may cause. That ethic prevailed among Machiavelli's fans in the hothouse of royal courts for centuries. Now, and of course, it continues unabated in many contemporary political and business circles. Machiavelli's assumption was that self-interest is the sole driving force in human nature. Altruism nowhere enters the picture. To be sure, a political Machiavellian may in fact not consider his ends to be selfish or evil. He may come up with a convincing rationale, even one he believes. Every totalitarian ruler, for instance, for instance, justifies his own tyranny as needed to protect the state from some sinister enemy, even if only a concocted one. The term Machiavellian, or the shorthand Mac, is used by physiologists to apply to people whose outlook on life reflects just the cynical, anything goes attitude. The first test for Max was actually based on statements from Machiavelli's books. Like, the biggest difference between most criminals and other people is that the criminals are stupid enough to get caught, and most people forget more easily the death of their parents than the loss of their property. The physiological inventory makes no moral judgments, and in contexts ranging from sales to politics, the talents of the mark, including a glib charm, cunning, and confidence, may be desirable assets. On the other hand, wow, halo, sudah lama tak bertemu. Gimana di TB? Baik-baik aja kah? Ini aku lagi olahraga sambil latihan artikulasi Inggris. Halo. Gimana di TB? Lancar kah? Okay, thank you. Good. Baguslah. Jangan lupa olahraga, karena olahraga itu bagus. Oke, jangan terlalu sibuk belajar sampai lupa menjaga diri. Oke. Oh, belum. Ku jadinya gap year, jadi baru mulai tahun depan. Jadi sekarang belum kuliah dulu. Gitu. Masih belum tahu soalnya mau jurusan apa. Oke, semangat juga kuliahnya. Sudah, aku lanjut lagi ya.
The psychological inventory makes no moral judgments, and in contexts ranging from sales to politics, the talents of the Mac, including a glib charm, cunning and confidence, may be desirable assets. On the other hand, Macs tend to be cynically calculating and arrogant, readily behaving in ways that undermine trust and cooperation. Though perhaps admirably cool-headed in their social interactions. They remain uninterested in establishing emotional connections. Macs, like narcissists, see others in strictly utilitarian terms as a need to manipulate for their own ends. For instance, one confined to a counselor in matter-of-fact tones that he had just fired his girlfriend. He saw people in all realms of his life much as interchangeable parts, one as good as another. Halo, Kirsten. Apa kabar? Oke, lanjut lagi. Aku lagi olahraga sambil latihan pronounce Inggris ya. The Mac shares many traits with the other two branches of the dark triad, such as a disagreeable nature and selfishness. But far more than the narcissist or psychopath, the Mac remains realistic about himself and others, neither making inflated claims nor striving to impress. The Max. Hai Ray. Masih ospek kah? Ospek berapa hari di Unpar? Apa udah selesai ospeknya? Itu mau bahas apa? Mau bahas si sahabat lagi di sebelah atau enggak gitu? Lagi bareng sahabat gitu? Mau nanya itu? Mau besok terakhir? Oh iya. Gimana Re? Gitu? Mau itu aja randomnya? Si sahabat lagi sebelah gitu? Oh enggak. Oh enggak gitu ya. Kalau gitu ini tentang kemarin minum-minum bareng gimana? Oh iya. Oke. Mantap. Ospeknya barengan selesai ya. Yaudah, aku sambil lanjut ya. Kecuali ada chat lagi. The Max prefers to see things clearly, all the better to exploit them. In human prehistory, some evolutionary theories argue human intelligence first emerged as such crafty operation in the service of one's own interests. Oke, bye-bye. See you. Selamat istirahat. Semangat besok. Human intelligence first emerged in mankind's earliest eras. Runs this argument. Victory lay in displaying just enough diffuseness to get a lion's share without getting booted out of the group. Today, Machiavellian types like the kiss up, kick down manager may well gain some personal success. But in the long run, Macs run the risk that their poison relationships and resulting bad reputation may one day derail them. A Mac's personal history inevitably will be littered with resentful ex-friends, ex-lovers, and ex-business associates, all brimming with hurt or simmering resentment. Still, a highly mobile society may offer a receptive ecological niche for Macs. Hi, Ger. Yeah, bye-bye, Ger. Macs typically have tunnel vision empathy. They can bring someone's emotions into focus mainly when they wish to use that person for their own ends. Otherwise, Macs are generally poorer at empathic attunement than others. The coldness of the Mac seems to result from this core deficit in processing emotions, both in themselves and in others. They see the world in rational, probabilistic terms that are not only devoid of emotions, but absent the ethical sense that flows from human concern. Hence, they're easy for into villainy, lacking the full capacity to feel with others. Macs also cannot feel for them. Like their serial killer, a part of them has been turned off. Macs appear just as confused when it comes to their own emotions. At a moment of unease, they may not know whether, as one expert put it, they are feeling sad, tired, hungry, or ill. Macs appear to experience their emotionally dry inner world as rife. Oke, sudah 30 menit. Kita coba cek. Aku end dulu deh. Potong bebek, angsa masuk bebek, wali.
Enggak. Ini multifungsi.
Oh,
Ngapain? Mau mendahului.
kelihatan.
Keingetan.
Kelihatan.
Udah?
Udah? Cik mau? Enggak.
Gimana apa ya?
TNW
Oh, berapa?
200.
200? Tadi aku juga 20.
Oh, iya. Iya.
Oh, kan aku juga malu ini bagus. Sekarang bagus-bagus.
Iya. Kayaknya ada buat tancap ke tanah. Kalau misalkan mau di ini
Oh,
supaya.
kayak tenda?
Iya.
Oh,
Bawahnya bisa diputar di attachment.
nice.
Ntar. Hook 3 seconds. Hook. Oh. Apa ya? Hari ini hari ke-9. Aku olahraga tiap hari. Oke, refleksi. Jadi hari ini baru mulai olahraga jam setengah 8 karena baru pulang mandi belum mandi deng, makan dan beres-beres dan langsung buat hari ini lebih mending langsung mulai dibandingkan kemarin nunda-nunda. Jadi tadi langsung pokoknya klik live dulu aja. Nah, terus lanjut mulus buat ke olahraga. Tapi tadi di menit 22 sebenarnya udah agak mulai capek secara mental. Tapi begitu habis itu nanti ada yang datang lagi di live terus akhirnya jadi lanjut terus. Akhirnya udah nyampe 30 menit. Nah, tadi sekilo lah. Oke, jadi secara aerobiknya 25 menit. Kemudian tadi kecepatan 2,3 km per jam dengan incline 15 secara fisiknya ya. Oke, segitu aja. See you in day 10. Bye.